everybody, welcome back to Ren Gaming. Right, this is part 2 of my Obsidian 250D build. In this, now the unit's fully assembled, I go through the software installation and the correct order, or the way I do it anyway. I think it's the correct order. And I'll show you some very basic benchmarking tools, how long to run them. I also pop in GPU Z, CPU Z as well, just to show you how they work. Very quick look at how to overclock your RAM. I don't go too much into overclocking the processor because I'm not an expert at it and I don't want to give anyone bad advice, but I've been very lucky with this chip. It just overclocked like a beauty. I mean, it got to 4.3 and I didn't have to increase the voltage, and it became unstable after about 2 hours, so I just touched. And it's been stable for 12 hours straight. So I also look at overclocking the graphics card if you want to do it, and we look at GPU Z from Tech Power Up. Also we have a quick look at MSI Afterburner, which is on there as well. And Intel burn test. I don't show any Prime 95 running because it's really boring, but Prime 95 is a fantastic program that really stresses it. Now if you're overclocking, and even if you're not and you've built a system from scratch, to make sure it works and to make sure it's stable, then you need to run something. So you have the choice of Prime, which I have run, and then I use the Intel Extreme Tuning, which has an hour-long stress test on it, which is really intensive. And you know, you run that for a few hours, you know everything's going to be alright. So I'll split to the video. It's going to be a bit disjointed again in my normal fashion because I've been making this over the course of a week. Lots of things going on, as I said in my last video, not had a lot of time to do it. So there's going to be lots of different probably cuts, and if there's anything that isn't clear, please leave me a comment, or ask me a question and I'll do my best to answer them. So yeah, I'll come back after the video with a conclusion. Right, so we're installing Windows 8 onto the new PC, which I'm building in the Corsair 250D. A lot of people don't like Windows, but it's an easy option for me because I'm not that good with PCs. So just show you the setup I've got. Because I'm not using a optical drive in the build itself, I've just got one popped out the side there with the Samsung 250 gig SSD on there as well. So important things to remember when you're setting up: make sure it works. Don't put the side panels on or anything until you know it works, because that's bad luck. Pop in the Windows 8 disk or whatever software you're using, 7 or whatever, and run that. Once that is run, then you need to get your board bits and bobs in there, so your motherboard knows what it's doing. But as you can see, everything is working okay. There's the 770 on the side. Excuse the shaky camera. Right, so next up, Windows is installed. I haven't done the updates on that yet, but I will do that in a tick. We are going to install all the motherboard utilities. So same setup as before. Zoom this out. Excuse the mess on the floor. Obviously you need your motherboard working properly to make everything else work properly, so that is step 2. Step 3 is installing the GPU drivers. Now you can use the one straight off the disk if you want. I will only use that for Afterburner, but if you are using NVIDIA cards, you can download the GeForce Experience. We're just going to check for an update. And then begins the process of downloading 85 Windows updates. This is going to take a while, and obviously I'm not going to leave the camera running while it's doing it. But we're nearly done. We've got the operating system on there. We've got the drivers installed for the motherboard. We've got the GPU installed with the latest driver. The H80i I've got connected up to Corsair Link at the moment, and I've changed the colour of the LEDs, but I'll show that in a second. That's all there is really. We're nearly finished. Almost time to put it all back together again. So there we go, there's the finished unit. It's not easy with this camera. I do apologise, I don't have a lot of room in it. Looking through the top. It's not powered on at the moment because the TV's nowhere near this table, and obviously I don't want it plugged in and stuff unless it's running. But it's a lovely little case. It was very easy to build in, even with all the extras we dumped in there, like the H80 and everything. Just on the back of the MSI board with the two aerials. I'm not sure if I'm going to use the Wi-Fi, but I've got it on there just for the time being. Right, I'm not going to go into too much detail about overclocking the Haswell chips. I'm just going to show you basically how to go in, get your memory settings right. I have got a small overclock on this at the moment. I've got it running at 4.3, but it's quite a big overclock for the i5, and with no voltage increase. So, and it is stable. I've obviously won the silicon lottery. It's a great chip. But let's just click into the overclocking settings, and you can see I've already got my DRAM frequency at 1866. This will be 1333 when you start it up. What you have to do, the MSI BIOS is the same as a lot of the others. Basically, you look for DRAM frequency. You don't click that one because that's the wrong one. You go to the XMP, Extreme Memory Profile. And you can enable it or disable it, and if you enable it, which I've done here, it automatically picks up the 910, 927 timings on my memory at 1.5 volts. You don't have to do anything else to it, and that will make it run at 1866. If you don't do that, you will be stuck with it at 133333, which is always what these things go back to. You see what I've done here as well. So instead of mucking around with the base clock, which you don't have to do, the CPU ratio I've turned up to 43. So now it's running at 43 like that instead of 3.4. we got running at 4.3, and it's completely stable. And in just a second I'll pop into the screens I use. Okay, so this program is called CPU-Z. You can download it from all over the place, but make sure you are downloading it and not something with a load of shit attached to it, as sometimes happens. What you can do with this program, and excuse my voice if it gets quiet, I'm moving away from the camera, this shows everything we've got in here. So, showing my processor just under 3 at the moment, but we want to look at the memory. So when you go to memory, it shows what you've got. It shows the speed. Excuse me, cut, my neighbour knocked the door. So, the DRAM frequency, you see it's running at 933.2, you times that by 2, there you go, that's your 1866, and it shows the clocks there as well. When you go on here, it shows the XMP at 1866, and it shows the clocks as well and the voltage. The good thing about this is when you overclock, you can see exactly what you're doing. You can see that the voltage increase and anything else you've done as well. Okay, the second thing we're going to have a quick look at on this MSI board, we have this command center, which is also handy as well because you can go in, just to adjust this, you can go into it and in real time you can adjust your frequencies, you can change your DRAM settings, overclock genie if you want to press that. If you want a quick dirty overclock, you press that, it jumps these up to straight away to 4, it applies way too much voltage, but it's an easy way to overclock. Now you can go into advanced, you can look at the voltages on here. So there you go, it's a tiny little increase I've had to put on it, as you can see. The fan settings, any information you want. And then GPU-Z, which is just used, is just used for video cards. So what this does, let's pull this down. Let me zoom up on that. So this shows the cards. At the top, what it is. Shows all the information that you probably never really want to see. 256-bit, 2 gig of memory. But down here, look, I've got this card up from 1085 to 12. We've got the memory up from 1753 up to 1891. It will go slightly higher. And this is what it will now boost to. So instead of boosting to 1137, it boosts to 1252. It actually boosts to 1355. Craziness. Crazy fast cards. What you can do on this as well, you can set these to highest, so when you're running benchmarks you can see what it tops out at. So we'll leave it on there just for a second. And then we have benchmarks. So let's just pop it out. So it's up to you what you want to use. When you're burning stuff in, Prime 95 is brilliant. Everyone uses it, and you don't need to run it for 24 hours. I know everyone says you do, but you don't need to. Intel Extreme Tuning Utility, what you can do on this, you can actually go into, you can actually adjust stuff in real time through this as well, through manual tuning, but I'm not going to muck around with it because I don't need to. But you can see the core voltage here, that was set to 43. I hope you can pick this up on the screen. Memory shows exactly what the memory is. There's nothing other on there we have to worry about. So the stress test, CPU stress test, minute if you want, all the way up to an hour, and you can loop these. Let's just run it for a minute. I'm not going to bore you with all of it, but at the bottom here you can see what it's doing. It's running the CPU at 100%. The memory is only using 3 gig at the moment. This is the important one. The temperature. Now with an overclock on a card, well even without an overclock on a card, you need to watch what your temps are. So this coming in at, I mean the max I've seen it 63, and that was when I was running it at 4.4. So the H80i is doing a fantastic job in push-pull of keeping this chip nice and cool. There's no throttling involved at all, and this shows the processor speed down here as well. Now being the i5 it only has 4 cores. If it's the i7 you'd see the 4 cores and probably the 8 others. I believe that's how it works, I can't remember. But I would recommend running this for at least 2 hours to make sure your system's stable. If it blue screens you need to go in there and change your voltage or wind the overclock down. But again, I'm not going to go too much into the overclocking side of things. There's a ton of videos on YouTube about how to overclock as well. So there you go. As long as you get this, it has passed. You can also benchmark on here as well. And this also stresses everything. So what you see, this graph here, this is showing, this is CPU utilization, so it's up and down and up and down. The processor frequency is always going to stay at 4.3 on this. That's your memory and your core temperature, so it's current core 49, so it looks like it did creep up into the 60s there. It got a little warm, but we're not worried about 60s. 60s are fine. I'm going to stop this and I'll come back when it's finished. So there you go. I mean, it only takes a couple of minutes, but it's finished. It says maximum processor frequency 4.3, high CPU temperature 66, which is well within any any boundaries you should be worried about. I mean, they do run hot, the Haswells, we all know, but 66 is absolutely fine for what we've just done with it. And even running this this stress test for an hour, like I say, 63 was the highest I saw it. Okay, so if you want to have a play around with your graphics card, but you're not too sure about how to overclock, MSI Afterburner is a great little tool. You can't go too mad with it. The thing is, because I've got an MSI board and an MSI card, it does unlock the voltages so I can have a good play with it, but I haven't changed the voltages at all on this. The power limit is already up to 111, that's how it's set. That way this card comes pre-overclocked from the factory. But what I've done with the core clock, I've turned it up 115 and I've turned the memory up to 70 odd, 276 it's there at the moment. I haven't touched the fan speeds. Like I say, it's still air cooled, but it's a very, very simple program. There's loads out there as well. The At MSI there's a decent KFA one as well. The EVGA one is fantastic, and that's what I use on my main build. But yeah, it's an easy way to overclock your cards. If you're not sure about it, watch a tutorial on YouTube. I haven't actually got any up. Maybe I will. Don't know yet. But it's an idea for a future video. Right, and on to some benchmarks. Now these are for the GPU specifically, although they do stress the CPU slightly. This is Valley. This is the free version. I'll run it in Extreme HD. And you press F9 to benchmark it. Now, the hotter these cards get, the better they run. I don't know if you can see in the top corner. See if I can get this zoomed in. I hope you can see that. That card's clocking at 1356. That's stupid fast. But the good thing about all of these benchmarking tools is they give you a score. So you know when you've been overclocking and if you've changed anything, whether it's had a positive or a negative impact. And of course if it's negative, you can wind it back to where you were and try something new. I'm not going to make you watch the whole of Valley because it goes on for a bit. And then an easy way to score your system is Windows Performance thingamajigger, the Experience Index. It means fuck all, to be honest, but if you want a quick and easy way to find out how it's running, there you go. 8.2 is my highest, 8.1 is my lowest, so this comes in at 8.1, which I think is fantastic for a budget build. Yo again everybody. Right, so in conclusion, I want to talk about the 250 case and I want to talk about the MSI card and the MSI board. The case itself was lovely to work with. It is a small case. It's quite bigger than some of the mini ITX cases are, but it was easy to build in. It looks lovely, I have to say. Everything is dust filtered that needs to be dust filtered. The only thing I didn't particularly like were all the thumb screws on the back, but there you go, that's the way it has to go. The H80 fitted in, the H80i fitted in their push-pull. I had no problems with cable route, and I had to be a bit creative here and there, only because of the MSI board, but I'll cover that in just a sec. The GTX 770 I've got in there, the twin Frozr MSI board, is absolutely fantastic. I've never had a card that's clocked as high as this one without adjusting voltages and things like that. It's just mad. You see it on there boosting up to 1356, I think. It's just crazy, and that's on air. Fantastic board, 230 quid, maybe slightly cheaper. Then the MSI board itself, the overclocking on it is a joy. It's very simple to use. It's a little bit different than what I'm used to because it's the first MSI board I've ever had. I've always used Asus in the past, and their BIOS, even though it is basically the same, the things are in a slightly different pattern. But you know, it's if you know how to overclock, then this thing's a joy to play with. It really was fun building it, and it's a shame it took me so long with with all the gaps I've had and everything, because I was hoping to get it all finished and all up in the course of a weekend, but lots of things happening, and I never got around to it. But it is finally finished. I've got Steam on there, I've got Origin on there. It's going in the bedroom where my wife will probably be playing Titanfall, so it's not going purely to waste. It's also going to be dead handy as a backup, because we're looking at moving house, and I've got this massive NZXT 630 Phantom here. It's this big. This thing's this big. It's fantastic. So thank you very much for watching. If there's any questions, anything you're not sure about, anything you want to know, pop them in the comment section underneath. I do try and answer them, but I'm very busy at work. But I will get round to it as soon as I can. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, because every little helps. And I will see you all very, very soon.